Texas cop grants prisoner's final wish. What he asked left everyone speechless. The night was quiet, but Officer Sarah Monroe's heart wasn't. The Texas prison's death row wing always felt like another world, thick with silence, heavy with secrets. As she walked down the long, dimly lit corridor, the echo of her boots was the only sound. Tonight wasn't like any other. Tonight, one man was about to take his last breath, and he had made a request that no one in the prison had ever heard before. Before we dive in, don't scroll away, because what this man asked for will challenge everything you think you know about justice, forgiveness, and the human heart. Backhand index pointing right medium skin tone. If you love real, emotional stories that make you pause and reflect, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay till the end, because this one will stay with you long after the video ends. Sarah was 34, a police officer turned correctional guard who'd spent the last 6 years working death row shifts. She'd seen hardened criminals beg, curse, weep, and even laugh in their final hours. But when she received the notice that Marcus Hale, inmate number 4732, had requested her to fulfill his final wish, her stomach clenched. Marcus was no ordinary prisoner. Convicted for the brutal murder of a local shopkeeper, he had been on death row for 8 years. His case had divided the town. Some saw him as a cold-blooded killer. Others whispered about the flaws in the investigation. Sarah remembered the night they brought him in. The look in his eyes wasn't rage, it was resignation. When she entered his cell, Marcus was sitting cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, hands resting on his knees. Calm, peaceful. Too peaceful for a man with hours left to live. "Officer Monroe," he said softly, opening his eyes. "You came. You asked for me," she replied, standing tall, keeping her professional distance. He nodded. "Because I trust you." That sentence alone unsettled her. She had no special connection with Marcus. She had never treated him differently. She followed rules. Always. "What's this about, Marcus?" He looked up at her with eyes that held 8 years of waiting. "My last wish. I need you to find someone. And bring her here." Sarah frowned. "You know that's not how this works. The only approved visitors are family or clergy." Marcus exhaled slowly. "She's neither. But she's the one person I wronged the most. And I need to face her before I go." Sarah spent the next hour arguing with the warden, the legal department, and the chaplain. No one wanted to break protocol. But Marcus wasn't asking for steak, music, or a cigarette. He was asking for something human. And for reasons she couldn't fully explain, Sarah found herself fighting for him. By midnight, she was driving through the quiet streets of Dallas with an address scribbled on a piece of paper. Rain tapped against her windshield as she pulled up in front of a small, rundown house. She knocked. The door opened to reveal a woman in her late 20s. Her eyes were tired, her hair messy, but her face, it was unmistakably filled with shock. "You're from the prison," she whispered. "Yes. My name's Officer Sarah Monroe," she said. "I need to talk to you about Marcus Hale." The woman's grip on the door tightened. "I don't want anything to do with him." Sarah could have left. She should have left. But something in the woman's voice, the pain, the fear, the unresolved wound, made her stay. "He asked for you," Sarah said gently. "He has hours left. He didn't ask for forgiveness, just a chance to face you." The woman's eyes welled up. "He killed my father." Silence. A deep, aching silence. Sarah swallowed hard. "I know, but this is your choice. You don't owe him anything. But if you walk through those gates tonight, you may get answers you've carried for 8 years." The woman stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. Back at the prison, as the clock inched toward dawn, Sarah escorted the woman, her name was Emily, through the layers of security. Marcus was already waiting in the visitation room. When he saw Emily, his calm expression faltered. He looked broken. "Emily," he said, his voice trembling. "I didn't think you'd come." She didn't sit. She didn't smile. "I came to look you in the eye," she said coldly. "Before they kill you." Sarah stood in the corner, silent, observing. Marcus lowered his gaze. "You deserve that. And more. Emily, I need you to know something I've never said. I didn't kill your father." Her jaw clenched. "Don't you dare." "Listen," he shouted suddenly, then caught himself, breathing hard. "I was there that night. I broke in. I planned to steal, nothing more. But someone else came. A man. Hooded. He shot your father and ran. I panicked. I was arrested blocks away. I was high. I told lies. But I didn't pull the trigger. Emily shook her head, tears spilling. The court proved you did. The court needed someone to blame, Marcus said. And I was the easiest target. I confessed because I thought I deserved punishment. I had destroyed enough lives already. But your father's blood, it wasn't on my hands. And I couldn't leave this world without telling you. Emily's breathing quickened. Her fists trembled. She wanted to scream, to curse him. But deep inside, buried under years of hate, was a part of her that had always questioned how a clumsy addict could execute such a clean murder. She whispered, "Why now?" "Because the truth deserves daylight," Marcus replied softly. "Even if I won't live to see it." The warden signaled that time was up. Marcus was led away. Emily collapsed into a chair, sobbing for the father she lost and the truth she never heard. Sarah placed a hand on her shoulder. No words, just presence. At 3:42 a.m., Marcus Hale was executed. He died whispering, "Tell her, thank you." The days after Marcus's execution were strange for Sarah. She'd been through dozens of executions, but this one clung to her. Emily's haunted face. Marcus's final whisper. Something inside her refused to let it rest. Emily showed up at the precinct 3 days later with a file folder in her hands. "I need your help," she told Sarah. Inside the folder were old newspaper clippings, crime scene photos, and police reports. "I went through everything," Emily said. "And something doesn't add up. The ballistics report from the crime doesn't match Marcus's gun. There was a second set of footprints. How did no one see this?" Sarah frowned. She had no authority to reopen a closed capital case, but she had instincts. And those instincts screamed that Marcus's last words weren't empty. The two women formed an unlikely alliance. The officer who witnessed his death and the daughter of the man he was accused of killing. Night after night, they pieced together the puzzle. Witness testimonies, old CCTV footage, crime lab oversights. Then, one night, Emily slammed her hand on the table. "There," she shouted, pointing at a grainy image, a hooded figure fleeing through the back alley at the exact time of the shooting. Sarah's eyes widened. "That's not Marcus." They traced the image to an old gang associate of Marcus's, a man who had disappeared shortly after the murder. Through records, Sarah discovered he had been arrested under a different name 2 years ago in another state. Emily stared at the file in disbelief. "You mean my father's killer is alive?" Sarah nodded. "And Marcus took the fall." What followed was a whirlwind. The DA's office reopened the case. The man was extradited. Under questioning, he finally broke down and confessed to the murder, a robbery gone wrong. He had always assumed Marcus would be blamed. And he was right. The headlines exploded. Man executed for crime he didn't commit. Protests erupted. Investigations were launched. But amid the chaos, two women stood silently in the back of a crowded courtroom, Sarah and Emily. One had carried the weight of duty, the other, the weight of grief. Now, both carried the weight of truth. Emily turned to Sarah, tears streaming down her face. "He died for something he didn't do, and no one listened." Sarah clenched her jaw. "But he told you, and now the world knows." Emily whispered, "Maybe that was his real last wish." Moral resolution. In the end, Marcus's final request wasn't about forgiveness. It was about truth. Even from the edge of death, he sought to set things right. And through that, two women, one bound by law, the other by loss, found justice in a place where hope was supposed to die. Before you scroll away, ask yourself this. Backhand index pointing right medium skin tone. If you were Emily, would you have walked through that prison door that night? And if you were Sarah, would you have gone against protocol to grant a dying man's last wish? If this story moved you, hit subscribe, share it with someone who believes in second chances, and drop your thoughts in the comments below.